She flew across 3 states with a mannequin head, a wig, and a bag of pills. When the door opened, the 2 women locked eyes. One of them was pregnant. The other had murder in her heart. Within moments, the air filled with screams, then came silence. Neighbors would later describe it as a sound they'd never forget, raw, guttural, like someone crying out from the depths of hell. This wasn't a random attack. This was planned. Precise. Personal. A woman at the top of her game, celebrity stylist to the stars, threw it all away in the name of love, or something darker. What could drive someone with fame, power, and success to destroy not just another woman's life, but an unborn child's future? Was it heartbreak? Was it madness? Or was this something far more calculated than anyone dared to imagine? What happens when obsession disguises itself as love? When a polished image masks a soul unraveling in silence? And when one woman's heartbreak turns into a blood-soaked message the world would never forget? Before we dive deep into this disturbing and controversial case, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, where lies and betrayal turn deadly. Shamira Devon was more than just a name in the beauty industry, she was the name. In a world obsessed with aesthetics and perfection, she was the architect behind some of the most iconic looks in pop culture. From red carpets in Los Angeles to music videos shot in Dubai, Shamira's signature lace front installs and seamless blends weren't just hairstyles, they were status symbols. If your wig wasn't laid by Shamira, were you even famous? She was the stylist to Grammy-winning artists, reality TV stars, and even a few senators' mistresses. But beyond the gloss and glam, there was another Shamira. A version of her that wasn't posted on Instagram. Born and raised in East Atlanta by a strict, God-fearing mother and an emotionally absent father, Shamira knew struggle long before she knew success. Her childhood was filled with sermons, shame, and silence. She learned to smile through trauma, to present beauty even while breaking inside. Her followers saw a confident, spiritual, unbothered boss woman. But what they didn't see was the fear of abandonment, the obsession with control, and the deep, gnawing insecurity that lived under every wig she installed. Shamira wasn't just building a brand, she was building armor. And then came her boyfriend, Kareem Millwood. Better known in the music world as Keith Millie. He had that kind of charm that didn't ask for attention, it commanded it. Tall, with an effortless swagger and a voice like velvet, Kareem knew how to make a woman feel chosen. And when he locked eyes with Shamira at an album release party in Midtown, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, seen. Kareem was everything she thought she wanted. Flashy, successful, connected. But also, at least in the beginning, soft with her. Gentle. He called her his queen. Told her she was his piece in a world full of chaos. For a woman who had always been the strong one, that kind of vulnerability was intoxicating. Their love bloomed fast. Within weeks they were vacationing in Turks and Caicos, matching designer fits, posting slow-motion reels with R&B tracks playing in the background. Comments poured in calling them black love goals and power couple vibes. Kareem gifted her a Cartier bracelet after just 2 months and introduced her to his family within 3. To the outside world, they were unstoppable. Jet-setting. Slaying. Building. To everyone else, Kareem was just another industry player, but to Shamira, he was her escape from the pain she'd carried since her teenage years, and a mother who always said, if you want love, expect pain. That warning echoed like prophecy. But privately, the cracks were already forming. Kareem had a reputation in the industry, not just for hit records, but for breaking hearts. Shamira had heard the whispers, seen the shady DMs, the emojis under his pics. She asked. He denied. She believed him, because she had to. Her intuition screamed, but she buried it under $500 wigs and booked-up calendars. Because the image she'd built for the world didn't leave room for doubt or heartbreak. Still, the anxiety lingered. She started checking his phone. Watching his tagged photos. Her prayers at night got longer, more desperate. Not just for protection, but for proof. Proof that he was who he said he was. That she hadn't invested her soul in another lie. But Kareem knew how to calm a storm. He knew exactly what to say, how to hold her, how to spin a new dream every time the truth started to show. He told her she was irreplaceable. That no one could hold him down like she could. And she clung to that. Because when you grow up believing love is something you earn through pain and sacrifice, you don't walk away when it hurts. You just hold on tighter. Their online presence remained flawless. Luxury dinners. Laughing in the back seat of a black SUV. My twin flame, she captioned a photo of them in Paris. The man who covers me spiritually and emotionally. But the truth? The truth was unraveling behind closed doors, quietly, dangerously, and without warning. And Shamira, she was about to learn that the man she believed was her forever, had already planted a seed with someone else. Kareem's side chick, Zanaya Trilmore, was the kind of girl who turned heads without trying. Just 22 years old, with caramel skin, a body built for Instagram, and a laugh that made men lean in, she worked the Miami nightlife scene like it was her birthright. A bottle girl at one of the most exclusive clubs in South Beach, she had the looks, the energy, and just enough ambition to make people believe she was on the verge of something big. She was also an aspiring influencer. Curating her online presence with mirror selfies, aesthetic coffee shop shots, and cryptic captions that hinted at soft life goals and private jets. But the real twist? She wasn't just some girl in Kareem's orbit. Zanaya had been in Shamira's chair. Twice. She had once sat under Shamira's dryer, scrolling through her phone, gushing about Kareem's music, pretending she was just a fan, when in reality, she was already sleeping with him. She had even called Shamira Big Sis. Told her how much she looked up to her. Took selfies in her salon and tagged her with hearts. All while secretly playing house with the man Shamira believed was her future husband. For a while, the betrayal stayed hidden. Shamira could sense something wasn't right. Kareem had started acting distant, suddenly, too busy for their usual Sunday rituals, traveling more, sleeping with his phone under the pillow. Her gut screamed at her, but her pride silenced it. Until one day, a mutual friend dropped the bomb. Kareem had gotten a 22-year-old bottle girl from Miami pregnant. Her name? Zanaya Trilmore. It wasn't just the cheating that hurt, it was the humiliation. Zanaya wasn't just some random Instagram girl. She was a familiar face. Someone who had looked her in the eye, complimented her wigs, sat in her chair, smiled in her mirror. And now that same girl was carrying the child of the man Shamira had loved, fought for, and sacrificed for. For weeks, Shamira spiraled in silence. She told no one. She continued posting her usual content, soft life, aesthetics, Bible verses, hair tutorials, but behind the scenes, she was unraveling. She created a burner Instagram just to watch Sanaya's stories. She scrolled through her photos obsessively, zooming in on her stomach, analyzing her captions, her clothes, her location tags. Every image felt like a taunt. And then came February 2021. Zanaya posted a sonogram. She tagged Kareem. The caption read, "Creating life with the love of my life." That post snapped something in Shamira. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stared at the screen in silence. The same fingers that once styled Zanaya's curls now clenched into fists. She read the caption over and over until the words blurred. Creating life. The love of my life. Shamira had given Kareem everything, money when he needed it, connections he never could have made on his own, loyalty even when he didn't deserve it. And now, the world would watch her lose to a girl who once begged her for bundles at a discount. The humiliation wasn't just personal, it was public. People in the industry were whispering. Clients started canceling. Rumors flew in salon circles. She couldn't go live without someone asking, "Are you and Kareem still good?" Zanaya, meanwhile, flaunted her pregnancy like a prize. Soft maternity shoots in golden hour lighting. Matching sets with her baby bump. Subtle digs in her captions, "He protects us now, I manifested this life, baby Millie loading." Each post was a knife. Shamira's diary entries from this time were haunting. Scrawled in red ink, underlined words, jagged sentences. "They think I'm soft. She forgot who taught her how to slay. She won't make it to delivery." What had started as heartbreak was now becoming something else. Darker. Colder. Focused. Shamira wasn't just broken. She was burning. And in the ashes of her pride, she was quietly, obsessively, planning. The moment Shamira saw that sonogram post, something shifted inside her. Not a crack. Not a break. A full collapse. Whatever logic or restraint she had left was buried beneath the humiliation, the betrayal, and the rage. She didn't cry. She didn't argue with Kareem. She didn't make a scene. She made a plan. She cancelled a week's worth of clients, including a major tour prep with a platinum-selling artist who had just landed a Vogue cover. The kind of gig that stylists fight their whole careers for. She let it all go with a single text: "Family emergency." Then, without telling a soul, she booked a last-minute one-way flight to Fort Lauderdale. Cost, $600. Paid in cash. No return ticket. She wasn't coming back. In the days leading up to the flight, she barely slept. Instead, she prepared. Methodically. Almost ritualistically. She packed a black duffel bag with items that, individually, looked strange, but together told a terrifying story. Surgical gloves. A blonde lace wig. Her old cosmetology mannequin head, for practicing disguises. A taser. Her flat iron. And most chilling of all, a prescription bottle filled with fentanyl-laced Percocets. She even brought her own nurse scrubs, ironed, folded, and spotless. She flew under a fake name, Darlene Sharp. The ID was cloned from an old client who'd lost her license once in the salon and never came back for it. Shamira had kept it, just in case. When she landed in Florida, she didn't waste a second. Rented a Nissan Altima with the fake ID and paid the deposit in cash. Everything about her movements was quiet, deliberate, and untraceable, at least, she thought. That same night, she found Zanaya. It wasn't hard. Zanaya lived loudly online, tagging everything from the juice bar she visited to the boutique that was helping her plan her baby shower. Shamira waited in the Altima until she spotted her, glowing, pregnant, and laughing as she left a baby boutique holding a small shopping bag. Shamira didn't flinch. She followed at a safe distance, her hands steady on the wheel. Zanaya pulled into her condo complex in North Miami. Gated. Modern. Secure. But not secure enough. Shamira parked 2 blocks down and changed in the car. She pulled on the nurse scrubs, tied up her hair under a surgical cap, added the wig, the mask, the sunglasses. Her reflection in the mirror barely looked like her, and that was the point. She grabbed a clipboard, a small delivery bag, and started walking. Calm. Purposeful. A woman on a mission. Security cameras would later show her entering the complex just after 7:40 p.m. To any casual observer, she was just a prenatal nurse dropping off supplements. She even waved at a neighbor walking their dog. But her heart wasn't racing. It was frozen. Every step toward Zanaya's door was fueled by a voice in her head that whispered, "This is justice. This is correction. This is what she deserves." Earlier that afternoon, just before boarding her flight, Shamira had sent a voice note to her best friend, the only person she trusted enough to even hint at what she was doing. Her voice was calm, almost eerily peaceful. She said, "Pray for me. I'm going to fix something God should have handled a long time ago." No follow-up. No location drop. Just those 13 words. Zanaya was glowing. She'd posted a boomerang of her baby bump from the side mirror of her car just 15 minutes before the knock came. She wasn't expecting anyone, but she assumed it was the delivery she'd been waiting on. Prenatal vitamins, a belly support band, some stretch mark cream, all part of the soft motherhood aesthetic she'd been curating for her followers. So when she opened the door and saw the woman in scrubs, with a mask and sunglasses and a clipboard, she didn't even hesitate. Until the woman stepped inside. And locked the door behind her. Zanaya's smile faded. The mask came off. And the moment her eyes met Shamira's, it was like the air left the room. Zanaya stumbled backward. She recognized her instantly. How could she not? The woman who had once styled her for free. The woman she called Big Sis. The woman whose man she now claimed as her own. There was a scream. Loud. Full-throated. Panic. Surveillance audio from the hallway, distorted and static-filled, picked up fragments of the confrontation. Doors down the hall rattled. A baby started crying in another unit. But in that condo, chaos had taken over. Muffled yelling. A crash. Glass breaking. And then a voice. Low. Controlled. Bone-chilling. You stole my life, now I'm taking yours. Then more screaming. Then silence. For 26 hours, no one checked on Zanaya. Her neighbors assumed it was a domestic fight. One neighbor reported hearing a loud thud, maybe furniture falling. Another said they heard crying, then nothing. It wasn't until the next evening, when Zanaya missed a scheduled doctor's appointment and a sponsored live stream, that a friend called the complex manager to do a wellness check. The police arrived shortly after. What they found inside the apartment would haunt every investigator on the scene. The walls were smeared with what looked like lipstick, written in rushed, manic strokes. Words that made no sense at first. Until they did. Millwood was mine first. Zanaya was found in the nursery. Lying next to the crib. Her abdomen was mutilated, torn, slashed open. The blood had dried in thick, dark patches. Her fingernails were broken down to the skin, showing signs of a brutal struggle. And the most horrifying detail? The fetus was gone. Vanished. The only thing left in the crib was a doll, wrapped in a lace front wig cap, almost like a mock offering. The doll's eyes had been painted shut with eyelash glue. One of them still fluttered open. Investigators moved through the apartment with disbelief. In the bathroom, they found a pair of gloves. A burned wig. And a small bottle of fentanyl pills, some half-crushed, others arranged neatly in a straight line across the sink. Zanaya's phone was found under the couch. Still unlocked. Still recording. A voice memo had been left running, maybe by accident. The audio was distorted, skipping in places, but parts of the confrontation could be made out, Zanaya crying, pleading, and in one chilling moment, a breathless whisper. Stop, please. You don't have to, he's not worth it. Then more rustling. A loud metallic clang, possibly the flat iron. A gasp. And then the static. Hours of white noise. Until the battery died. Whatever had happened in that apartment wasn't just murder, it was a message. A performance. A woman scorned stepping into a role she had been rehearsing in her head for weeks. And somewhere out there, Shamira Devon was believed to be carrying the unborn child of the woman she murdered. Or worse. Already knowing she had left the world exactly the way she wanted it. Terrified. Confused. And begging for answers. 2 days. That's how long she had before the walls closed in. In that time, Shamira vanished like vapor. No phone pings. No credit cards. No security camera footage past the condo. It was as if she dissolved into the Florida heat. But Shamira wasn't hiding. Not really. She was unraveling. Witnesses later reported seeing her near a Greyhound station, pacing in circles, talking to herself. She bought a bag of sunflower seeds and asked the cashier if he believed in divine timing. She told a stranger outside a corner store that she was headed north to bury the past. But it was her final stop that sealed her fate. Amtrak Station, Jacksonville, Florida. Just before midnight. She showed up wearing a red pixie wig, oversized sunglasses, and a vintage trench coat over sweats. It was 82 degrees. She didn't seem to notice. She wasn't carrying luggage. Just a worn tote bag and, what chilled officers to the bone later, a cosmetology mannequin head. She cradled it like a comfort doll. When the ticket agent flagged her for erratic behavior, security was called. Police arrived minutes later. They approached cautiously. She didn't look armed, but something about her presence was off. Still. Focused. Too calm. She didn't run. She didn't argue. She just smiled. When asked if she had anything dangerous in her possession, she tilted her head slightly, looked them dead in the eye, and said, "Just memories, and mistakes." That's when they noticed the manicure, fresh, blood red. The same shade smeared across the apartment wall. Her nails were flawless. Not a single chip. Inside her tote bag they found the same clipboard from the night of the murder. A half-empty bottle of fentanyl pills. A Metro PCS burner phone with no SIM card. And a page torn from a Bible, highlighted in red ink, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." But it was the mannequin head that disturbed them most. It had been crudely styled. One eye scribbled out with black marker. Lips painted the same red as Shamira's nails. A single baby sock taped to its chest. When asked who it was supposed to be, she didn't answer. She just held it tighter. Back at the station, she sat silently for nearly 3 hours. No lawyer. No requests. Just her and that doll head, like she was waiting for someone. Or something. Then, out of nowhere, she began humming, softly, a gospel melody. A song her mother used to sing in the kitchen when times were hard. She hummed it all the way through booking. Through fingerprinting. Even while they photographed the deep bruising on her knuckles. It wasn't until detectives mentioned Zanaya's name that the mask cracked. She leaned forward. Her voice low, but steady. She knew what she was doing. Then she leaned back and said nothing else. No tears. No remorse. Just that same, eerie calm. A woman who believed she had done what the universe failed to. A woman who had loved too hard, lost too much, and snapped too far. The arrest made headlines across the country. Killer stylist nabbed. Social media star turned monster. From lace fronts to latex gloves, the Shamira Devon story. The trial of Shamira Devon wasn't the transcripts alone read like a psychological thriller. Shamira sat stone-faced through most of it. Occasionally blinking. Occasionally smirking. Dressed in a county-issue beige jumpsuit, she wore her hair slicked back in a tight bun, her edges laid immaculately, like a final reminder of who she used to be. But beneath that polished surface, her mind had fractured in ways that only the trial would reveal. Her defense team didn't deny the murder. They couldn't. The evidence was damning, meticulous, haunting. Instead, they leaned hard into her mental state. They spoke of undiagnosed PTSD from a violent childhood, years spent bouncing between unstable homes, a mother with untreated schizophrenia, a father who vanished before she turned 8. They described how Kareem manipulated her emotionally, dangled love like bait, and conditioned her into silence with empty promises. They called it betrayal trauma, love turned into psychological warfare. But the prosecution came armed with facts. Cold, unflinching, digital facts. They presented voice notes from Shamira's own phone. In one, sent just 2 days before the murder, she whispered, if I can't keep him, I'll keep her from getting anything he ever gave me. They showed the text thread with her best friend, full of screenshots, obsessive rants, voice recordings of her practicing different voices, aliases. And then came the Google search. How to extract a fetus without a doctor. Can a taser kill an unborn baby? How far along is 28 weeks pregnant? It wasn't just premeditated. It was methodical. The courtroom held its breath when the autopsy report was read aloud. Zanaya's mother, who had sat silent and trembling through most of the trial, let out a guttural cry and fainted when the medical examiner described the mutilation of her daughter's womb. A deputy had to escort her out in tears. But the most chilling moment came when Kareem took the stand. He looked undone. His chain was gone, his eyes swollen, suit too big on his shrinking frame. He cried as he spoke, sometimes so softly the court reporter had to ask him to repeat himself. I never thought it would end like this, he said. I played with fire. But I never thought she'd burn the whole house down. When asked if he still loved Shamira, he paused for what felt like an eternity. Then he whispered, I loved who I thought she was. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. The verdict? Guilty on all counts. In June of 2021, Shamira Devon was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge didn't mince words. He called it a crime born of obsession, delusion, and unspeakable violence. He said she weaponized her pain, wrapped it in glamour, and used it to destroy 2 lives, and possibly more. Outside the courthouse, protesters clashed. Some held signs about mental health. Others about justice for Zanaya. A few quietly held photos of the unborn child, whose body was never recovered. Because that part, the part no one could explain, still haunts people to this day. The fetus was missing. Gone. There was no trace of it in the apartment. No forensic evidence suggesting it had been discarded or destroyed. And that mystery has birthed its own legend. Online forums still debate it. Some believe Shamira handed the baby off to someone, another woman seen on a nearby camera, never identified. Others think she hid it somewhere in those 48 hours on the run. One theory claims she believed the baby was hers spiritually, that it belonged to her destiny and not Zanaya's. And somewhere, deep in the Georgia correctional system, Shamira lives on in whispers. Inmates say she still does hair. That she's got a makeshift salon in the corner of her block. A plastic mirror. A smuggled rat-tail comb. An old flat iron that somehow still works. They say she hums while she works. And sometimes, at night, when the lights go out and the cell block goes quiet, she sings lullabies. To a child no one ever found. This wasn't just a love triangle. It was the unraveling of a mind pushed too far, fueled by the venomous combination of betrayal, ego, and rage. Shamira Devon had once stood on the pinnacle of success, surrounded by luxury and admiration. To the outside world, she was the epitome of grace, power, and beauty. But behind the carefully curated persona was a woman teetering on the edge, her illusions of love and loyalty shattered by a cruel betrayal. When that rejection threatened her sense of self, when it began to pull the rug from beneath the life she thought she had, Shamira chose blood over healing. She chose to rewrite her story, to erase the woman who had taken from her the only thing she believed was hers. Was it the betrayal that pushed her over the edge, or had she already been slipping, inch by inch, toward this moment of unspeakable violence? Could this tragedy have been prevented if Shamira had simply walked away, let go of her obsession, and sought healing? Or did the weight of her heartbreak drive her to do the unthinkable? When a heart is broken and filled with a desire for vengeance, what happens when it transforms into a weapon, a tool of destruction? The darkness that lingered beneath the surface of Shamira's carefully crafted life is a chilling reminder that sometimes, the most beautiful lives hide the darkest secrets. If this story shook you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tales that delve into the shadows of love, lies, and chilling revenge. And remember, every person has a story. But some stories are better left untold.